the rod of the day. 1985 Berkeley lightning rod. The old radio graphite kind of deal. LR21. I use this for slider fishing on some of my combos. And we're going to talk about rods today. So you ready to run and gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. Why does my rod not work? I've asked that question. Have you ever asked that question? You know, there's billions and billions of rods out there. But not all of them's for everybody. You know, especially when it comes to spinning rods, I don't have a very strong hook set. So I tend to use a little stiffer, if I'm not slider fishing, I tend to use a little stiffer rod, more like a medium heavy for a lot of my lighter stuff, just to help me with the hook set. Unless I'm using braid, then I'll use the proper, medium action, medium light, whatever. But if you look at a video I did last year called One Rod, One Lure, I took an old Daiwa strike out with me, and it was a 5.5 foot medium light action, and I was throwing 4-inch Senkos with it. And if you watch that video, you'll see how many bass I lost at the boat. It was crazy. I was losing fish left and right. I caught a few, but I was losing fish left and right because it was the wrong rod for the technique that I was fishing, for the way I set the hook. So I changed. You have to listen to yourself, guys. This whole point of simplifying your fishing is to listen to yourself, pay attention, and don't try to be like somebody else. Some guy will say, no, well, this rod right here is what I use for worm fishing and this, that, and the other, and then you love this guy or whatever, and then you go get the rod that he's got or whatever, and either you can't hook him, or you lose him at the boat, or you can't cast it for nothing. Everybody's a little bit different. Everybody casts differently. What you want to look for in a rod is called harmonics. Now, you hold a rod at the base, kind of tuck it in your arm a little bit so it doesn't move. I'm going to poke you in the eye. Watch this. Just kidding. Tweak. Anyway, harmonics is when you hold it here at the butt, tuck it in your arm. Okay, I'm going to try this on camera here. You can see it better. And about halfway up, or maybe a third up, tap it. Give it a pretty good little tap too. You want to see how fast that rod returns. See how fast it returns? This has good harmonics. A rod with the least amount of harmonics is going to go like this. And it's also going to have, from the tip to behind the tip, it's going to go like this and keep going like that. Fiberglass rods are good for that. There's a lot of graphite rods too. If you spend $30 for a rod, I hate to tell you, you're going to get you a $30 rod. And the harmonics are going to be awful. But if it works for you and you like it, go for it. You just saved you a bunch of money. But I'm also not telling you to go out and buy G. Loomis or St. Croix or, high dollar Daiwa Zillion or something like that. I'm not telling you to do that. Because personally, a lot of those rods I don't care for either. If I want to be specific, which I'm building some now, is actually building rods to my requirements of what I like in a rod. So there's some of those that I'm actually going to be building. When it comes to the older stuff I've got, I've gotten so used to them over the years. I know what rods I can use for what situations, and I know I'll be okay with it. But you have to listen to, why is this rod not working? Well, it's not the rod for you in the situation you're in. You might have, that rod that I was talking about, it's in that video. I think I mentioned it too, I'm not really sure. I was trying to throw 4-inch Senkos, kept losing fish on it, but that rod would be perfect if you threw like inline spinners or crankbaits or topwater. Perfect rod for that, for me, if that's what I wanted to do. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think I have made that rod a slider rod in one of my combos, one of my combo series I got, which I'll get into that down the road too. But pay attention to what you do, guys. Pay attention to how you fish a rod. Most importantly, how you hold a rod. I've gone over this before. With a spinning rod, I like to have it to where the reel comes between my pinky and my ring finger. That way I'm up here. But a lot of times on these shorter handle rods, I'll move ahead of the spinning reel so I can get just a little bit more back there. And not only that, I can keep my finger on the blank and really feel what's going on with it. And a lot of times that's how I'll fish it. That's me, and that gives me the hook set I need. On a casting rod, I always have that trigger between these two fingers right here because I want to be able to cup that whole entire reel in my hand. I don't hold it by the trigger back here like this. That's how you hurt your wrist, guys. And you also will not get a hook set with that. The further up you have your hand, then the more snap you can get out of that rod. Okay? Again, everybody's different how they hold it. I mean, some of you guys might hold it by the trigger like that, and if it works for you, by all means, don't change. But I am going to tell you, you're going to end up hurting your wrist over time, and you're also going to sacrifice some of your hook sets. So be careful with that. But rods, lengths is another thing. What length do I choose? Well, that's up to you. If you fish out of let's say out of a kayak, having 7.5, 8 foot rods might not be the best thing for you. But some of you guys might be a little bit bigger. You also might have a higher seat in your kayak and you can use a rod like that. Well, then there you go. Okay, listen to yourself. Look at the situation you're in. Some of you guys who are bank fishermen, if you have a lot of trees that are around you and you're trying to bank fish, either at ponds or rivers or things like that, you don't need a 7.5, 8 foot rod. You're just going to get that sucker caught up in a tree. So you might choose a 6 foot or a 6.5. Pick the rod that's going to fit you. I have a couple of rods that I use for walking up and down the bank about 20 minutes from here, below the dam where I fish the river up here all the time. Same river that just runs behind the house here, and I use a 6 foot rod because one of the areas is wide open, but as I walk up the path and hit the jetties that come out, hit back and forth, I got a few trees around me and stuff, so I use a 6 foot. And it works for me perfectly. I'm not trying to get the 1,000,000-mile cast with it. So that's what works for me. There's Gideon trying to play my rod tip. But that's about all I got, guys. Listen to how you fish, watch how you fish, and if you have a rod that you love, but maybe you have a hard time hooking bass with a worm or a jig or something like that, why not try topwater with it, or a spinnerbait, or crankbait or something. Find a use for that rod that fits the way you fish. That's the most important thing. But always, if you're at a store and you're looking at rods, do like I told you. Take you a little snap that you use for a crankbait. Tie about 5 or 6 foot of fishing line to it. Put it in your pocket. And when you go to a store, put that snap on that rod tip, hold it back here, and start pulling on it and seeing where the action is and seeing how that rod feels in your hand. Always do that. I don't care if it's a $30 rod. I don't care if you're at Walmart. I've done it at Walmart. Looking at rods. I've done it at the big box stores too. If a guy does say something to you, just look at him and go, "Do you want to sell this rod? Leave me alone. I'm not going to break it." So, either way, I hope this helps, guys. Just because the rod doesn't work for you, that might just be that technique. So try a different technique with it. You actually might like it better. That's all I got for today, guys. So until next time, may the Father bless you, keep you in Yeshua's name, and as always, fish on.